Welcome. Thank you for participating in our discussions about sustainable consumption and policy making. Consumption is a broad term. It includes many things. The coffee or tea you had for breakfast, the home you live in, the car or bus or bicycle you took to work, even the phone calls you make. Today we'll be looking at 4 areas of consumption in particular: food, transport, housing and electronic goods. Together, these 4 account for up to 70% of the environmental pressures caused by greenhouse gases, ozone depletion, acidification and resource consumption. With you, we'll explore the potential of policy making and consider measures aimed at private citizens, people like you. We also want to get your views on what roles citizens should or could play when it comes to increasing sustainability in society. Let's start by looking at what sustainability is. Put simply, the aim of sustainability is to improve our lives now without making life worse for future generations. Achieving this in a balanced way means we need to address sustainability from the perspective of people, planet and profit. Sustainable consumption is consumption that uses as few natural resources as possible and eliminates as much pollution as possible. At the same time, it supports social equality and economic prosperity. Sustainable consumption is important for a number of reasons. As it stands, the Earth's resources will not be able to support the current level of human production and consumption indefinitely. If current consumption patterns continue, by 2030 we would need another planet to keep up. The impacts of our consumption aren't just felt locally. They are global. Many of the things we consume in Europe are produced elsewhere and imported, be it bananas, electronic goods, energy or cars. In our consultations with you today, we will touch upon 3 ways of achieving sustainable consumption. None of these are mutually exclusive. The first is shifting consumption towards more sustainable products. The second is reducing consumption. The third is reducing waste. In order for policymakers to create effective measures, the views of 3 key parties should ideally be taken into account: government, business and civil society. Together they make up the so-called triangle of change. Each group has its own goals and tries to influence the others. The trick in creating a successful policy is matching the agendas of these diverse groups. That is the challenge facing European policymakers, and the topic of sustainability is high on the European agenda at the moment. A central initiative is Europe 2020. This aims to achieve a smart, sustainable and inclusive economy with high levels of employment, productivity and social cohesion. Europe 2020 steers a number of other initiatives, such as the Roadmap for a Resource-Efficient Europe and measures to bring about what is known as a circular economy. Together, these initiatives are designed to secure Europe's place as a leader in environmental performance. They are also intended to encourage Europe's economy to grow in a way that respects what our planet can bear. Creating policy across a political union as socially, economically and culturally diverse as the EU isn't simple. The EU's citizens aren't all the same. They live in different places, have different access to resources and products, and live by different cultural rules and under different economic circumstances. Their historic and social roots vary. Each person sees sustainable consumption, or the need for it, differently. All of this impacts on what, how much and when they consume. One of the big questions regarding policy making is at what level policies should be drawn up, implemented and enforced. Should this be done locally, nationally, Europe-wide or even worldwide? Global initiatives are slow but move everyone in the same direction. Alternatively, national initiatives can be implemented more quickly and can be more far-reaching. Or should we drop down another level and encourage initiatives among citizens who are possibly more active, responsive and engaged? Let us look at some of the policy instruments used by policymakers to try and influence consumption. Their options fall into 4 categories: information, regulation, financial instruments, and suggestion. By providing citizens with information, policymakers try to effect change without limiting choice. The presumption is that consumers would make more sustainable choices if they were better informed. While information campaigns are often used by policymakers, they aren't always effective. Even armed with excellent information, consumers may not change their behaviour. For instance, their economic circumstances or social situations may prevent them from doing so. Regulation is prescriptive and carries with it the threat of sanctions for non-compliance. Bans, mandatory standards, permits, planning permission, these are all examples of regulatory instruments. Regulation can be very successful in changing consumption behaviour. Regulation also requires enforcement, which places additional administrative burdens on local and national governments. In some instances, regulation reduces the choices available to citizens by taking products or services off the market. Sometimes regulation does the opposite. It stimulates the development of new, more sustainable products. Policymakers can also use financial instruments to achieve their goals. They can tax the behaviours that they want to reduce and subsidise the ones they want to stimulate. They can also encourage loan schemes for sustainable goods, bonus schemes to encourage the purchase of sustainable products, discount coupons for sustainable products, and so on. All of these can be used to make sustainable products financially more appealing than less sustainable alternatives. Policymakers can try to effect change by making certain choices appealing to customers. Some seek to influence by using role models. These could be ordinary people taking a lead in their communities, or celebrities championing a cause. They make the suggested behaviour appealing and fashionable. On the flip side, there is a risk of consumers returning to previous habits once the novelty has worn off. Subtle suggestive measures have been used in some places to modify behaviour. Examples are the provision of smaller plates to encourage smaller portion sizes, and the withholding of plastic bags at supermarket checkouts. Cultural context may have an impact on how effective these measures are across the EU. Equally, familiarity may reduce their effectiveness after a while as well. There are also initiatives that are designed to encourage collaborative consumption, the use of products amongst a group of individuals rather than single-person ownership. This is also known as the sharing economy, in which consumers actively exchange tools, goods and services. These initiatives tend to be generated at grassroots level, where people seek to influence each other, and it isn't yet well understood how regulation from above could or should impact such movements. Now we'd like to invite you to discuss some of the issues relating to the topics highlighted in this video.